citizen of this country as well as for every individual on the earth. I'm not talking about every human being. I am talking about every individual. It may be an animal, it may be a plant. So the applications of green chemistry cater right from the microorganism till the highest developed creature of the world, human being. This discussion will have a flow of discussion on the current scenario of the chemistry and the chemical products. Briefly, we will be talking about green chemistry principles and circular economy. Then industrial applications, how the green chemistry and sustainable chemistry has been proved its metal in several industrial applications. At the last, we will be talking about some barriers that we are currently facing in implementation of green chemistry aspects. We shall also be talking about future prospects of green chemistry, briefly about research that has been carried out in our research laboratory here at DIPSRU. And at the end, I will be talking to the young teachers present here in this program that how they can implement the principles of green chemistry in their day-to-day teaching. The chemical industry across the globe is facing a very increasing demand for consumer goods and pharmaceutical products. And due to this increasing demand, there is an enormous strain on world's manufacturing industries, especially the chemical industries as well as the pharmaceutical industry are facing a challenge of increased production with high quality day by day. And there are several gap areas in these production units because for most of the productions, I'm not talking about a particular segment, but for most of the productions, the traditional resources are used. And the traditional resources are obtained from non-renewable resources and they are available only in a finite quantity. Exploitation of these non-sustainable resources keeps on making them scarce and scarce, and that way there is a chance that at one point of time, after exclusive utilization of those materials, they will become scarce and will not remain available for our future generations. Another risk associated with these type of conventional approaches is that a huge amount of waste is generated due to conventional methods of synthesis and manufacturing. And all of us are aware that waste generated in such a manner is allowed to accumulate in the rapidly filling landfill sites, or the waste generated so is disposed of in another environmentally harmful ways. The pictures signify themselves, and the program is being organized at Baddi, which is in itself a big industrial hub. The people staying there can understand the situation. Here in this picture, I have taken two pictures from the place where I work, that is Delhi. You must have seen this big mountain of garbage while entering from Chandigarh or Karnal Road. Another picture downside is another big mountain of garbage when you enter from UP side. And if you have seen the newspapers of last around 1 month back, there was a big fire. And I have seen a news in the newspaper with the heading, a volcano in Delhi. And this is all due to the waste generated and not disposed of in a proper manner. Another picture, you can see some water coming to the rivers, and that is very common in your Baddi site also. I would cite one example of water sample taken from Nalagarh near to Baddi, where the concentration of ciprofloxacin was 13,500 times more than the prescribed limit. Another pictures you can see which are very, very common in Delhi. I hope you can guess a lady performing Chhat Puja in Yamuna River, and the level of pollution is well known. So to cater the needs of renewable raw material, renewable stock, and to handle the problem of waste, the principles of green chemistry were evolved. And it was United States Environmental Protection Agency where two scientists, Anastas and Warner, they were working, and they coined this term green chemistry. Basically, green chemistry is utilization of a set of principles that reduces or eliminates the use or generation of hazardous substances. Design, manufacture, and application of chemical products. See, there can be three types of hazards with chemicals. One is the very, very important, and we all people are dealing with in pharmaceuticals, health hazard. And these health hazards can be either the substance can be carcinogenic, or it can be mutagenic, or it may lead to some other type of disease conditions. Another type of hazard is physical hazard, in which the substance may be flammable, it may be inflammable, or it may be explosive. Yet another type of hazard which can be possible with the chemicals is environmental hazard, where there can be hazards to environment like depletion of ozone layer. And you know what is risk? Risk is the hazard plus exposure to that hazard. So always there is a risk of health, risk of physical situations, and risk of environment with the toxic and harmful chemicals. And to fill these gaps of hazards, the green chemistry was proposed. And green chemistry basically uses green and renewable raw materials. It also employs green solvents, use of green catalysis, efficient processes, and environmentally benign products. And this all makes the chemistry as a sustainable chemistry. We will try to touch all these topics in our today's presentation. So the green chemistry is basically a proactive approach which is aimed at design of sustainability right from the beginning, not at the end, not in between. Rather, it is a design of sustainability right from the beginning, and it believes in the principle of prevention of waste formation rather than devising the methods to clean it up once it is formed. Further, the approaches aim at developing atom efficiency and atom efficient technologies using renewable feedstock, and the substances can be reused or they can be recycled. Energy requirements are to be kept minimum because production of energy again needs a lot of resources, and discouraging the use of volatile organic solvents. So primarily this green chemistry is based on 12 principles, and the principles primarily cater the needs of pollution and accident prevention. They cater the need of energy and resource sustainability, and they cater the principle of safety and security assurance. The 12 principles include prevention of waste right from the beginning, not cleaning it up after formation, atom economy, design for energy efficiency, renewable feedstock, less hazardous chemical synthesis, reduced derivatization, safer solvents and auxiliaries. Yes, we will be talking on this topic today, how solvents can be very much useful in protecting the environment, designing safer chemicals, real-time analysis of pollutants, inherently safer chemistry for accident prevention, and yet another very, very important area is catalysis. So today, in today's lecture itself, we will be talking about alternative catalysts, which can be helpful for a green and sustainable world. Now the term comes economy and economics. How economics is integrated with chemistry looks slightly strange, but believe me, dear friends, chemistry itself has got a lot of economics, and the efforts are being made nowadays to make chemistry circular in its economic aspects. The traditional method involves you take something from environment, from that you make some product, that product may be used by the target group. Once it is used, then it is disposed in the environment, and ultimately it leads to pollution. But now this concept has been changed. It has been getting changed right from the making of it. You make some product, use it. It may be used by the target group. Once it is used, it may be reused for some other useful purpose. Then after that, something can be remade from that product. After that, it can be recycled and make again and again. So this concept in chemistry is known as circular economy in chemistry. And the products are increasingly used as a resource material to raw material, developing processes where stoichiometric reagents should be replaced with catalytic reagents, and products should be biodegradable to avoid the waste, and analytical methods should be allowed. They should be such efficient that they should allow real-time process monitoring, and ideally, the role of a chemist should be a world without waste. And yes, this is not a hypothesis only. It has been proved. You can see from this slide, although data is slightly old, but you can see here that the waste which was generated for production of the material during the period from 2004 to 2013, the reduction in the use of VOCs, volatile organ carbons, that has been reduced up to 50%. And the chemical waste, which is produced by the chemical industry, has got reduced up to 7% by use of sustainable technology. And this is again an old data. I couldn't get the latest one. It is around 10 years back. But yes, I will be citing some definitive examples that will convince you the application of green and sustainable chemistry for making this world a better world, a sustainable world, and we can ensure a better tomorrow. Taking some case studies directly. Most of you are pharmacy teachers or students. So this drug is very well known to you. Ibuprofen, which was earlier called as Brufen. And this was discovered by the company Boots. And there was a scientist named Stewart Adams who discovered this drug in 1961. He was basically a pharmacologist working in a US firm. And originally, the drug was called as Brufen. The present slide shows the traditional method of synthesis of Brufen or ibuprofen. And there were 6 chemical synthetic steps involved to produce the final finished drug. 3 major challenges, 3 major environmental aspects were encountered during the processing and synthesis of drug by this traditional method. One was generation of waste material at each step. There were 6 synthetic steps, and at each step, there was some waste product formed, like acetic acid. You can see the table here. Another very devastating aspect was that during the production of ibuprofen, aluminium was generated as a major waste. And this aluminium generated so as a waste was allowed to fill in the landfill sites. And there are some scientific data and surveys that have carried out scientific study and found that this aluminium that is dumped in the Europe has been one of the major reasons for deforestation in that particular area. Reason was that the aluminium interacts with the plants and it inhibits the roots formation, and it leads to some devastating aspects. So in the middle of the Europe, there has been a huge big amount of deforestation, and this aluminium waste generated due to production of ibuprofen has been considered one of the major reasons. Another aspect with aluminium is that it is considered to be responsible for causing lung cancer. Moreover, atom economy associated with this traditional synthesis was just 40% of the yield. And then another team that associated with BHC company developed a greener method for synthesis of this compound. And in their method, the yield increased from 40% to 77%. And waste material generated was, you can see here, because the reaction could be completed in just 3 steps. So only at one step, 1 waste was generated instead of 6 wastes. And the catalysts were such that they could be recovered and reused. So technically, no catalyst waste was generated. And from this new method, this new sustainable method and green method, the prevention of 26 million pounds of waste every year has been taking place. So every year, 26 million pounds waste is less produced as compared to traditional method. Another drug we will be talking about, letermovir. This is a very, very important drug, antiviral drug, and it is used in case of cytomegalovirus. Dear friends, cytomegalovirus is as such present in most of us, but it becomes devastating and fatal in case where is a immunocompromised patient, especially patients with HIV or patients having some organ transplantation recipients or some other disease conditions. And this drug is so important that US FDA has awarded fast track status to this drug. And the European Medicine Agency has given orphan product designation to this drug. So from these you can see this is a very, very important drug for cytomegalovirus. But the problem with synthesis was that yield was only 10%. There was use of 9 different types of solvents in the synthesis of this drug. High palladium loading was required, and the reagents could not be recycled, and solvents could also not be recycled. So keeping in view the importance of this drug, although it is in still clinical trials, phase 3 or phase 4, so Merck and company developed an alternative method where they used PTC catalyzed Aja-Michael reaction, and what they found was there was an increase in yield by 60%. Please underline this term. In the traditional manner, yield is just 10%, and here yield is increased by 60%. Reduction in raw material cost by 93%, and reduction in water usage by 90%. And it is estimated that during the entire life cycle of this drug, there will be reduction of more than 15,000 metric ton of waste. See how much huge waste will be reduced during the life of this drug. And the carbon footprint reduction will also be around 89%. And due to all these features, EPA's Presidential Green Chemistry Award under the category of greener synthetic pathway was awarded for this drug to Merck and company. Advantages, as can be seen, very efficient, waste reduction, cost cutting, synthesis of converting inexpensive raw material to antiviral drug letermovir, and the green synthesis of letermovir is not only environmentally benign, but it is very, very economically lucrative. So the pharmaceutical companies are working for profit. All of us know, and that is a fact. So these type of techniques offer not only environmental benefits, as well as they have the economical interest. Another example I will be taking, there was a company, Warner Babcock, Warner Babcock Institute of Green Chemistry, and they have developed a hair dye. Hair dye is very, very commonly used, all of us know, but there are some adverse effects associated with chemical hair dyes like irritation, allergy, and some type of diseases, including even carcinogenic aspects. So this company has developed a non-toxic vegetable-based product providing an alternative to toxic, skin irritating, and carcinogenic dyes. And this is getting popularized very fast. So this was one aspect of green and sustainable chemistry where suitable synthetic modifications have been done to the existing products, which not only make them environmentally sustainable, but also provide economical interest. Another aspect is use of biocatalysts. As we all know that in synthetic processes, catalysts play a very, very important role. But these catalysts in many of the cases are non-renewable, they cannot be recycled, and as such, they are disposed of in the environment. And as a substitute, biocatalysts are employed. Most of the reactions occurring in physiological systems, human body or other physiological systems, they are catalyzed by the enzymes. And then the enzymes are called as nature's catalysts. Enzymes are not only biodegradable, but they are renewable as well. And they can be produced by simple methods such as fermentation of sugar and many other methods. And in order to achieve sustainability, more and more companies are working in the area of designing and using enzymes as biocatalysts. Yes, this is a drug pregabalin, which is very, very important whenever there is a neuropathic pain. It was introduced in the market around 2007 or 8, 2006 or 7. And then Pfizer and company improved the classical route of synthesis of this product. And due to the improved synthetic route by using biocatalysts, there was 90% reduction in the solvent uses and 50% reduction in the requirement of raw material. Again, circular economy and economically lucrative synthesis. And solvent and energy saving has taken place, and that is equivalent to reducing 3 million tons of carbon dioxide emission. You see, with the introduction of a new sustainable method for the synthesis of pregabalin, you know how much pollution is reduced? It is equal to taking off 1 million cars from Indian roads. That means you take away 10 lakh cars from Indian roads for 1 year, and the amount of pollution, the extent of pollution produced by 1 million cars running for 1 year, that much pollution is reduced by the green synthesis of pregabalin. Now coming to another very important and environmentally sensitive issue is the use of plastics. And we continuously hear about reduction in use of plastic, and it should be reduced, but practically we know the situation. And plastics own a very bad reputation. Why? Because one is that they are originated from polymers, and these polymers are non-renewable petrochemicals. That is one issue. So their source of supply is finite, and one day it can be depleted. But another and the bigger issue is that the plastics used as such are not biodegradable, and it is anticipated that once you throw a plastic bag somewhere, it will remain as such for next 500 years or so. So as an alternative, bioplastics have been proposed, which have been synthesized from some natural substances and which is quite biodegradable also. And there was a research carried out by Trach University where they have made renewable feedstock. They have used the renewable feedstock and made the bioplastic commercially available. And there is very effective use as well as tremendous growth in the market potential of bioplastics, wherein you can see in 2013, the share of bioplastics in the global market was less than 1%, which has significantly increased to 4%. That is around 21 billion US dollar in year 2019. And it is likely to explode. I am using the term explode because it is going to capture 40% of the plastic market in next 6 to 7 years. And this market, this global market would be around 800 billion US dollar. So out of this, more than 300 billion US dollar market would be captured by the bio industry. Again, the biocatalysis has been used in synthesis of bioplastics also, but as such, biocatalysis is used in carbon negative plastic synthesis. Here, I would like to cite a very interesting example. There was a firm, California-based firm, which was known as New Light Technologies, and it was founded not long back, just around 20 years back. And this firm got a funding of 9.2 million US dollar for developing carbon negative technology. And that technology combines air with methane emissions to produce air carbon. And it is interesting to note that the technology developed by this new startup company was not a new technology. Rather, it was very well known and very well established technology. But at the same time, what they did is they had used a different biocatalyst, a proprietary biocatalyst. And use of that biocatalyst made the product commercially viable. How it became commercially viable? By use of this biocatalyst. The yield was increased to 9 times as compared to traditional method. And at the same time, the cost factor got reduced by a factor of 3. That means cost became 1/3 of the original cost by conventional method. And in that way, the air carbon, which was the product produced by New Light Technologies, by using an alternative biocatalyst, it became cheaper than the oil-based plastics. And since it was a bioplastic, it was very well accepted. The cost also became cheaper. And due to that, the commercial scale up was done by the company in year 2013, only 10 years back. And nowadays, they are proudly saying that the leading companies in the world like Dell, HP, IKEA, Sprint, Body Shop, Winmar, and many more companies are using this product in their commercial setups. So this is how a business can be established, a business can be grown, and this is how you can contribute to the environment as well. So due to this production of air carbon by use of a alternative biocatalyst, proprietary biocatalyst, the most innovative company of the year 2013 award was given to this company. And another was Tech Innovation of the Year award by American Business Awards Company. Now coming to yet another dimension, we have talked about the synthetic protocols and modification in that. We have talked about the catalysis. Solvents are also very, very important in chemical synthesis. Solvents are used in the synthetic reactions. They are used in separation process also. They are used to dissolve solid, reduce viscosity, modulate the temperature. They are also used to recover the products by means of extraction or recrystallization, as reaction media, or for cleaning purposes. Solvents not only dissolve the reactants, but they also affect the rates, chemoselectivity, regioselectivity, and stereoselectivity of a chemical reaction. However, we know that most of the organic solvents which are used commercially by the industry and in the chemical laboratories, despite of their inherent advantages in the chemical synthesis, they are associated with several ill and adverse effects, and those effects primarily affect human health, and they also affect the environment as well. Moreover, the solvents are derived from non-renewable resources like petroleum. So substitution of solvent by some other suitable solvent is a big, big area that is being taken up by the chemical industries and pharmaceutical industries to make them more friendly to the environment. Substitution of hazardous solvents with other solvents which are environmentally better, they are used, and those type of solvents are generally called as biosolvents. That means solvents produced from the renewable resources. Substitution of organic solvents with supercritical carbon dioxide. This is very important. Supercritical carbon dioxide in polymer processing avoids the use of chlorofluorocarbons and reduces the problem of ozone depletion. Moreover, with ionic liquids that show low or negligible vapor pressure, there are fewer cases of emission into the air, and as such, there are fewer chances of pollution of air. I would cite here one very, very common and pertinent example of fabric industry, where a lot of water is consumed in fabric drying. On an average, 7 gallons of water is used up to dye a t-shirt, and then a lot of energy is wasted in drying the dyed material. This is a common scene in most of the crowded market in India, where you will see the people having the dyeing processes for dupattas and many other clothes. But if we talk about a commercial scale, for dyeing a t-shirt, it takes around 7 gallons of water and a huge amount of energy to dry that dyed stuff. Then a Dutch startup company that has recently launched water-free drying for fabric industry. And instead of water, they are using supercritical carbon dioxide as a solvent under pressure and at elevated temperatures. And since no water is used in this process of dyeing, so no drying is required. And since no drying is required, so you are saving both water as well as you are saving the energy which was required for drying that fabric cloth. So that way, this is a new and innovative approach which not only is helping to keep the environment sustainable, but also it is helping the industry to make more and more money or to save more and more money in the process of production. This is a very recent publication which is likely to machinery to the buildings and at many places. And in most of the cases, the paint remover is not from sustainable and eco-friendly background, from the eco-friendly but now a company has met TANU, which is biologically benign and it is biorenewable also and very, very eco-friendly. Another application of sustainable approaches is firefighting foams. You know, whenever a fire takes place, the firefighting devices are placed in order. And in year 2014, Solberg company, and it won a award, Insight Innovation Award, because they substituted the fluorinated surfactants which were used in traditional firefighting systems, and they devised the term rehealing firefighting foams, which were basically a blend of non-fluorinated surfactants, sugar, solvent, and corrosion inhibitors. So the impact on the environment with this type of rehealing firefighting system was very, very less as compared to conventional firefighters. And the efficiency in terms of control, extinguishing time, and reignition resistance are far, far better than the traditional systems. And as such, this company was given Presidential Green Chemistry Award 2014. So these were some of the industrial applications of green chemistry, and primarily we have focused on some of the case studies which have been utilized in case of improved synthesis or which have been used in case of improved biocatalyst or changed catalyst. And we have discussed some of the examples where the solvent, traditional and hazardous solvents have been replaced with some of the economically sustainable and environmentally benign solvents. Now coming to our efforts, we are also working in our laboratory towards green chemistry, and friends believe that there is an always increasing enthusiasm in the chemistry community for this green chemistry. And we have also some devices and instruments for that. Our research scholars are working in. This is one of the papers where we had carried out green synthesis of pyrazolyl triazole benzothiazole hybrids by using chloramine T-mediated facile one synthesis. But another publication in current research in green and sustainable chemistry from our department in my laboratory. And then this is a comparatively old paper where we have synthesized piperidinothiophene using microwave irradiation. And the time was reduced from 3 to 4 hours. Yet another work from our laboratory where thiazole containing compounds and their green chemistry was studied and anti-cancer evaluation was also done. Yet another chemistry for thiazolidine 4-on synthetic pathways in our laboratory. Yeah, yet another study, again, my research work during my master's long back, but again, we used this micro technique and the reaction time was reduced from 16 hours to few seconds. Yet another in our laboratory, one of the recent studies where green chemistry approaches towards design and synthesis of anti-infective fluoroquinolone derivatives has been published. And this is one of the recent publication, I believe in late last year, we have been able to carry out some synthetic studies with green chemistry approaches. So this was a brief how we proceeding in this field. But then a question must be coming in your mind that if this technology is so lucrative, so environment friendly, and so economically attractive, why it is not adopted by most of the industries? Barriers for industry applications, and one of the most serious barrier is the regulatory practices. If you carry out any in the manufacturing process, it will be treated as a new process and the recertification will be required. And then the recertification to be and control oriented regulation. What does it mean? That the new process will be treated entirely as a new process, and all the regulatory approvals will have to be taken once again, and it becomes a barrier to the industry. Another important barrier is that even at most of the industrial level, there is a lack of awareness among different stakeholder groups in the industry and in the society as well. Then the actual utilization of green and sustainable chemistry in industry requires a diverse type of expertise. You need people from engineering background, biotechnology, economics, and above all, you need people from toxicology background. And getting all this expertise and oriented in one direction sometimes becomes challenging. Moreover, economically attractive, and it has to be economically attractive. I have given some case studies where the economically attractive successes have been attained, but the process must be comparable to traditional processes in terms of cost and the product. Otherwise, the viability in market will be a question. Then capital investment also prevents the commercialization of green technology because you need to invest one-time capital at least for redesigning of the processes. And many of the companies, many of the industries are still reluctant on putting this one-time capital investment. And at the last, this global supply chain, which is designed to cater the need of a product to be prepared and distributed through conventional methods, is already established. And for this sustainable chemistry approach, the changes in the long and global supply chain are essential, and again it becomes a barrier. So there are some prospects that how to take the lead and how to make this more popular, that innovations backed by sound policies and regulations will accelerate the large-scale implementation of green processes. Next generation chemists should be taught the basics of green chemistry at a very early stage. I will tell you how to do that in next 3-4 slides, last 3-4 slides. Interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary research should be advocated, and the technical hurdles for commercializing the philosophy should be handled carefully and given priority. Subsidizing the greener initiatives and providing some tax exemptions can again attract many industries, and that way it can help to make the practices more popular and technically and financially viable. And the industries should realize that it is one-time investment only. It is just one-time investment. And there will be positive impacts not only on the society and environment, but there can be positive impacts on the industry in terms of financial revenues also. So the collective and sincere efforts by researchers, engineers, corporates, policymakers can actually make the chemistry green and sustainable. But now question comes, what for me? How can I contribute? What is my role? So my dear teacher colleagues, you know, teachers are the backbone of society, and the teachers plant seeds that can grow into big, big trees and big, big forests. So we can also play a very, very important and crucial role by inculcating the concept of green and sustainable chemistry in the minds of our budding students, undergraduate students. I will be quoting few very, very simple examples of green chemistry that you can undertake in your day-to-day chemistry practical laboratory. I have been using for more than 15 years in my lab. You can also adopt the same, and that too with use of simple chemicals, whatever available in your laboratory. For example, preparation of acetonide is one of the most common practices, and it is used in most of the undergraduate chemistry labs. In the traditional synthetic methods, we use pyridine. which is not eco-friendly. We use some other chemical substances. We use acetic anhydride, which is not economic also, and which is not easily available. And an alternative process has been proposed where the use of acetic anhydride is avoided and minimum waste product formation takes place. And hazardous solvents are also prevented. Another example is bromination of trans-stilbene. Again, a common practical experiment in your laboratory. And the traditional or the conventional method use bromine and chlorinated solvents which are not environmentally friendly. But you can use a green procedure, and this green procedure will avoid the corrosive liquids, bromine. It will make the process atom efficient and will increase the yield. And there are some other environmental benefits as well. Another very common synthetic reaction that is carried out as a practical in undergraduate practicals is Diel-Alder reaction. And in the traditional method, benzene is used, and you know benzene is very, very toxic. And at the same time, you can have an alternative green practical using the common chemicals present in your laboratory, and the reaction can be carried out in aqueous medium. And that way you can avoid use of benzene, and you can carry out the reaction in the room temperature. No reflux is required, and it becomes 100% atom efficient. Yield is increased. Yet another very common example, that is coenzyme catalyzed benzoin condensation. You must be arranging the practicals for your students, and the traditional or the conventional procedure involves highly poisonous sodium cyanide. But the same reaction can be carried out by employing thiamine hydrochloride, and that way you can avoid the use of poisonous sodium cyanide. And at a lower temperature, reaction can be performed. Yet another example is electrophilic aromatic substitution, nitration of phenol. And all of us know very, very common reaction, use of NaNO3 and H2SO4, and concentrated sulfuric acid is used, which is not environment friendly. But if you use an alternative route in your laboratory itself, nitration will be rapid, eco-friendly, and the reagent and byproducts will be eco-friendly, environmentally benign, and commercially lucrative. And even if you can carry out a regioselective nitration with this alternative procedure. Yet another example, I believe it is probably the last example, electrophilic aromatic substitution, where you can carry out bromination of acetanilide. And in this reaction, as we all know, that liquid molecular bromine is used in conventional method. But at the same time, if you use an alternative green procedure, you can eliminate the use of corrosive molecular bromine. And this reaction can be carried out in an aqueous medium, which is again economically as well as environmentally friendly. Chlorinated solvents are also avoided, and use of acetic acid as a solvent is also avoided. And reaction becomes considerably fast also. So these were my opinions and information on the very important topics of green and sustainable chemistry.